Morning everybody. I just finished my watering and I did it fast. It's 20 after 11 and I'm finished, so that's good. I got time to do this video and it's so important, and there's something really that I even learned in it. So we're going to talk about encouraging spikes in our hybrids. Hybrids, of course, are the ones we buy in the grocery store. They do not have a name other than their Phalaenopsis. And that is basically in the Phalaenopsis, probably 9 out of 10, 99% of my orchids were bought at a grocery store. And they were all bought in moss. I wish some people, they message me and they say, oh, I got one in bark. How wonderful. I wish we could do that here. Maybe one day we will. But another subscriber gave me a hint, and I should have known better because I've mentioned it before. You know, I said I was looking for like another big lip Phalaenopsis, and we got to the top of the hill grocery store, and the orchid delivery and plant delivery was just arriving. They were taking it off of those carts. And I thought, oh, that must be the girl that does the order. So I patiently waited till they had everything off. And I said, can I ask you a question? Are you the lady that orders the orchids? And she said, yes. She had to run and let the guy that delivered the flowers out, and she came right back. And I said, is it possible to order an orchid from where you order from? And she says, I don't know, but I can try. So she took all the information of what I wanted, and she won't be ordering for a while because they got a lot of orchids in, but none of the ones that I want something different. So she wrote it all down, and I'll be waiting very impatiently. But anyway, let's talk about encouraging spikes in our Phalaenopsis hybrids. Not species. Some species are different, but these are hybrids. These are what I raise, and a lot of people do. So you want to encourage the spikes. So of course there's seasonal changes that in their natural environment, the light and temperature encourage them to do different things at different times. And this is what we need. Now, if your orchids are always in air-conditioned room, like here, we don't have an air conditioner in the house. The house gets as hot as it basically does out here. In fact, sometimes it's cooler around 4 o'clock out here than it is in the house. So we do get hots and colds, and we have one air conditioner. And if you do have an air conditioner, that's fine, but make sure it's not blowing directly on your plants. In the room is fine. Of course, that's how they do it in the greenhouses. So the main thing that I've been reading quite a few studies, and I even learned something. So you want to get cool night temperatures. Now, I'm going to talk about cool day temperatures later, but you want a change of 10 to 15 drop in temperature degrees in the evening. So you want cool night temperatures of maybe between 18 and 20 centigrade, or 64 and 68 Fahrenheit. And that's just rough. It can vary. And you want to do that for 2 to 4 weeks. But an interesting thing I read, that if you want to get more than one spike coming up, if you want 2, apparently in the greenhouses for multiple spikes, they will have a temperature between 64 and 68 degrees, or 18 to 20 at night, so they will drop this temperature for 6 to 9 weeks. So they're saying, and I'm going to pin this study down below when I'm finished. It will be below the video in my comment section. So apparently they say you need longer cool temperatures for more spikes. Interesting. Now if I leave them too long out here when the temperature's dropping, and the reason I wanted to do this video now is because we are probably in the, we're going down at night to the low 60s. So when I put them out here in the spring, I had a couple that spiked because it went to the low 50s, 52. I don't know what it went to. I still haven't purchased a thermometer that records the low temperature, but I'm going to. So, and that can make your leaves turn to mush. I only had one orchid that really suffered, and it went very discolored. They'll probably lose a couple leaves, but anyway, I guess we better get back on topic. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat on me saying that, because if your day temperatures are too high, say 78 degrees Fahrenheit or 26 centigrade, if your temperatures are too high in the daytime, that according to this study, will prohibit flowering, because in the greenhouses, if they're trying to flower their orchids at a certain time, well, they will make sure that the temperature is about 78 every day. Some say 78, some say 82, but it's very close there. I read a few different studies, because the studies I'm going to pin is actually a summary of a lot of studies that have been done. So if your temperature is not cooling in the daytime, now at night if it's cooling, it won't have a difference, because like even here now as we approach fall, our daytime temperatures are dropping too. However, they're still very comfortable and warm in the 70s, and nice and cool at night like I want. So I'm getting those nice drop in temperatures right now, and that's why I wanted to do this video. So if your daytime is staying 82 degrees Fahrenheit, it's that warm. That's what they do when they're trying to say, oh, they don't want their orchids to flower at a certain time. They'll keep their greenhouses about 82 Fahrenheit so they won't flower, so they won't spike. So you got to make sure that you're not in this hot area, or find a way to have a cooler area. Now, that being said, if you have trouble cooling your orchids because of where you live, then there's a few ideas I have read about. So now if you have shelving like I do, and you can put maybe a clear shower curtain around them, and maybe it's on your patio, maybe it's in a room in your house, it won't matter. Because if you're too warm, then what you want to do is cool them out. So if they're already on a shelf and you can encase it, or maybe you have a mini greenhouse that you can buy at like Canadian Tire here. I don't think they're very expensive. And then you get yourself, there's probably choices. Once you've got it enclosed in a mini greenhouse, or you've wrapped something around your shelving, because you just can't get those cool temperatures. Or if you have a small room that you can put them in, as long as they're still getting light, because they need light. Now, that's why I said a clear wrapping around yours. So then you have choices. They sell little mini air conditioners that you could put in there and set to the right temperature. Or you could, if you're in an enclosed area, you could put ice in bowls. You could put a small fan if you wanted. Now, if the humidity is high, no matter where you are, whenever your humidity is high, you're best to have a fan running, whether it's day, night, whatever. If your humidity is really high, the higher the humidity, the more chances you should be using a fan. So it's a mini greenhouse effect that you can try and get whatever way you can. I've even read where sometimes people will have an old fridge that they just use for that time, and there has to be a light in that fridge. So that's something really important for you to get. So now is the time of year, because we've been fertilizing with a higher nitrogen fertilizer. So that helps encourage, and the temperature has been like hot. So what happens? That's why in the summer, whether mine are in the house or here, it's hot because we don't have air conditioning. The root growth and leaf growth has been amazing. And I always thought it was, it's because I put them out here. They do like it out here. So there are these little greenhouses you could get where maybe you can put it somewhere safe, but have it enclosed in this greenhouse where bugs won't get it and goodness knows what. So, and also I wanted to mention the last orchids that I repotted from moss to bark in the 2-tier sewer pot. When I fertilize, I decided, because I thought they were suffering, let me get it. Okay, it's just my watering day, so things are a little wet. Anyway, I thought they were suffering. So on fertilizing day, I never fertilized them last fertilizer. I did today, but probably next fertilizer. So if fertilizing day. So if you have an orchid that maybe you just transplanted or it's under stress for some reason, and if the roots, because they've been in that moss, very debatable if they're going to absorb any fertilizer. So this is the problem that newly replanted orchids, especially changing media, any media to any media, is going to shock them. So they're going to grow new roots to suit what they're in, is what's going to happen. So last watering day, I took this one out separate, and I gave it seaweed extract, just about 1/4 teaspoon in a gallon of water, and I kept running it through. And I did this probably over about a 15-minute period where I wasn't soaking them per se, but I was running the water through. And I noticed now, and I don't think you'll get it, but way inside on this one, there's a baby leaf. There's a baby leaf coming, so I'm really happy about that. And I thought about doing the seaweed extract today, and I didn't, but I probably will next watering day. This one here doesn't have it, and they're suffering, and I've had them before, they suffer, but eventually get the nice new leaves, and then that's not a problem. And the other thing is, if you remember, I cut the big monopodial stem off of my oldest orchid, and this is the bottom half of the stem, and I'm seeing this is an old root. It's actually still green. This is an old root off the long root that I planted, but it's doing really well, and I think it has a new baby leaf coming. They're quite purple, but this was a purple orchid, and even the mother was always on the purple side, and she of course had been going downhill, but good news about her too. Lots of root growth coming and a new leaf coming. So yes, I'm quite pleased about that. show you a few things I've noticed. And this one that I took out of, I wasn't happy with this. These two orchids were in that fruit tier I had, that they weren't doing good. It was a cast iron. It had 2 trays because I'd watered the top one. It always dripped on the bottom ones. So I repotted, and I actually put them in a container together, and I see lots of good root growth happening in here too. So, and that's a new leaf, and I think there's another new leaf coming. So that one's doing good. And other than that, I still see very long root growth. The tips, which tell you that your root growth is very long. I see lots of that happening. So this is what we want to concentrate. We've been feeding them good with nitrogen, and then they need lots of light. Sometimes they say low light, you know. A lot of times they'll say, oh, low light orchids, low light. But you know what? You don't want to put them in direct sun, but they actually like a lot of light. You can watch that you're not like burning them. You can put your hand between the window and your sun source, and if you feel heat on your hand, you can back them up. But they like as much light, I think, as they can take, and keep an eye on them. So that light is also giving them energy that they're storing to make those spikes. So it's the nitrogen and the energy from the sunlight, and then the temperature change, the seasonal change. Some people in those studies said it didn't even have to be a nighttime drop. If it was a daytime drop and the nighttime wasn't dropping, it would still work because it's just signaling seasons are changing. And so that's good. So anyway, how have you guys been doing out there? I hope you're doing good. I've been busy. I've been canning tomatoes regularly, my tomato sauce. And I've been, we picked peaches, and we had so many peaches hidden on that tree because of the leaves we couldn't see. And I think I've been freezing them. I used to can my peaches, but then I did try freezing some one year, and I thought they tasted nicer. And we bought a new freezer, and we stuck it on our patio. And it's so handy and so nice, because the other one is like ancient, and it's down in the garage. And a few times it scared us, so I thought, I had this extra room, and I actually I'm freezing the peaches this year. And I've got so far, I think, 18 containers that I froze. But when you've got fruit in your house, and I've been canning out here, but they still get inside, the fruit flies come. So I have my little containers, the wasp containers all over the place. And I just put in apple cider vinegar and a piece of banana, because if you have bananas in the house, boy, you can get fruit flies so quick. So seems to be working good. I'm catching lots, but they're still around. Excuse me. Anyway, thanks for visiting. Thanks for all the comments. And if I can answer any questions, I'm glad to help you when I can, because you guys sure help me. And it's nice to keep in touch, and it's nice to get to know people that I've been talking to that have been subscribers for years. And it's so nice to hear from them and how they're doing. And it's just a really nice way, especially right now, to keep in touch and share. I was thinking about the canning too, just before I go. I was thinking, I have canned on a wood stove. We used to have a wood stove. I love my wood stove because it had a little it was in the upstairs of the house, and then downstairs we had a hot water tank. And in the winter, the wood stove had coils that ran all around it. It went down, it heated the water, went into our hot water tank. It was a great setup, and I love baking bread in it. I love the wood stove, really. We don't chop wood and stuff anymore, but I did love my wood stove, so I've canned on wood. And I canned on an oil stove, but I did not like oil. And we had an oil heater. You had to look down into this great big oil thing that was in the center of the living room, and there was a pan down there where you turn the oil on, a little bit of oil runs in, and then you take like a Kleenex with some fire and you drop it down there. I didn't like it. And the cook stove was the same. You had it all. I did not like oil stove. So I canned on oil stove, and I tried canning on a glass top. I never did any good with that. So I kind of like just gas now. But you know, Mom didn't even can when she was young. She didn't know what, if I hadn't learned how to can in school, and I've been canning my whole life since, I don't know what I would have done. But she didn't can, and she grew up like with 9 children in her, 9 kids in the family, and her mom passed away when she was barely old enough to remember. So her older siblings like raised her, and they lived in England near other people helped look after them. So her dad was a very smart man, and he was an electrician, but she never learned to can or anything, so I didn't learn canning from her. So, but I've canned fish and tuna and fruit and you name it, and I like it. I like that I can go out in the garden, pick my own stuff, and do it, and I don't use any poisons, and I try to be as natural as possible. And we still buy stuff we can't grow here, but it's still nice. And so that's it for today. I hope you learned something. I hope this winter we're all going to have our beautiful orchids all spiking. If not, ask me a question if I can help. And I will also put the study thing down below in case you want to look at this. A very technical, but the names and the dates of when the studies were done, so it's pretty interesting. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.